Hi guys, it is Bilal, and what I want to talk about today is the future of Iraq and Syria now that the Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant, otherwise known as ISIL or ISIS, seems to be coming to its end. Now, the Battle of Raqqa and the Battle of Mosul were basically the Syrian and Iraqi versions of the Battle of Stalingrad. These are the most important battles that we have been seeing. Now, from 2013, 2014, 2015 onwards, it seemed like ISIS was unstoppable. However, starting in late 2016, it was very clear that ISIS was going to be coming to its end very soon. And the Battle of Mosul in Iraq, where the Iraqi government was able to take back the city. And now, just yesterday, with the Syrian Democratic Forces taking back Raqqa, it seems like ISIS has slowly but surely becoming to its end. Now, Iraq has taken back most of its land from ISIS, with most of the lands that's still held by the group being in the border. As such, I think it's very hopeful to say that ISIS will become not a force that holds land by the middle of 2018, hopefully the end of 2018. But most definitely within the year, I think it's safe to say that ISIS will be coming to its absolute end in terms of holding on to land. Now, the issue now shifts from how to defeat ISIS to how to rebuild Iraq and how to rebuild Syria. And this is where the Syrian Democratic Forces, I've been saying defense, Syrian Democratic Forces come into play. Now, the SDF is made up of a lot of Kurdish fighters. A lot of Kurdish, Turkish, and obviously Syrian fighters. What this means is that the Kurdish forces are going to seek some sort of return for the loss that they suffered. They've been fighting, they've lost numerous people, and they're going to expect something in return for defeating this terrorist group. Now, is it safe to say that the Assad regime would actually give up Kurdistan? Absolutely not. However, I do think that the United States should use its leverage now to stop funding rebel groups and to say, okay, Assad, we will stop fighting against you. However, in return, we would like for the Syrian Democratic Forces to have some sort of say within your government. I'm not talking about a completely democratic government. It would be asinine and ridiculous to say that that is possible. However, what I would really like to see is for Assad to realize you barely got through this war. In many ways, the United States helped you get this war by funding groups that fought against ISIS. That was your biggest opposition. So yeah, Assad, you did not fight ISIS in its infancy, and you allowed it to grow to the threat that it became. Because of that, what we want to do is force you to give the Syrian Democratic Forces some sort of say in your government. Now, if I could shift for a moment to Iraq, I feel like Iraq has done a much better job at recovering than Syria. Following the civil war that came after the occupation, Iraq seemed to be on the verge of collapse, and this confluence of events, you had Syria having its rise up during the Arab Spring, and you had obviously the Iraqi civil war. This is what allowed ISIS to grow to the extent that it did. Otherwise, it most likely, obviously, would have been squashed. So with Iraq, I feel like they finally unified and stopped the sectarian and religious violence. It seems that the Shia and the Sunni of Iraq have been able to come together and form a government that, even if it's not perfect, it is at least able to work properly. And I think right now that's the best that we could hope for. I think Iraq, out of the two countries, would be the one that is more willing to give up Kurdistan, just because it's understood what happens when you hold on to groups in areas that do not want to stay. They treated the Sunnis of the country extremely poorly, and that's what led up to people becoming radicalized. So I think Iraq is not going to want to make that mistake. Now, is Syria going to make that mistake? Very likely. I think Syria is going to do exactly what it's been doing. They're just going to continue the civil war, which unfortunately is now the focus. Iraq will be able to rebuild itself. I'm a firm believer in that. I think they're going to have some sort of representational force that will allow the SDF to have some sort of say. They're going to allow Kurds to have a voice within the government, hopefully, because they do not want to be the bad guys on the world stage now. In fact, this is what this has really become, is a PR move by, not even PR, a move by the Iraqi government to show that they have changed from 2003. They want to show that they have become more liberalized and that they are not going to give in to the forces that tore them apart. Syria is not going to do that. Syria is under a dictatorship. They're under Bashar al-Assad, unfortunately. And I don't think Bashar al-Assad has the clarity and ability just to see that, just to do what needs to be done. He wants to hold on to power as much as he can. So yes, victory with ISIS is almost definitely certain. It is now going forward that matters. And I think that rather than take a step forward, Bashar al-Assad would rather take two steps backward before he gives up all of the power that he has attained. So with that said, I want to thank you guys for listening. Once again, this has just been a short, and I hope you guys continue to listen. We love your support, and we just can't thank you enough. So this has been my thoughts on the Battle of Raqqa and the aftermath of ISIS.